Okay, guys, welcome back to class. Um, day two, day two, and now we're getting started. Today we're getting started. This is our first philosopher number one, Plato. So I hope that thanks for making it through the first series of videos, and I hope that you um, are making sense of the website and that the basic outlines of the course make sense. Don't forget, you can always email me. You can always put questions for me on the discussion board. I'm going to be paying a lot of attention to that, and I'm going to be, I will respond and do things and let you know what's going on. So if you have any confusions, so I hope that you checked out the website. I hope that you watched the previous series of 6 videos and got introduced to or 5 videos. Got introduced to Plato, which is nice. Plato's the 5th video in the first series. Um, and I hope you enjoyed that. I really think it's fun. I know it's old fashioned, but it's so fucking weird. It's so weird. Everybody in the '70s was just like on drugs all the time, and they just made weird shit like that. That's amazing. So anyway, I hope that makes sense, and I hope you've had a chance to maybe check out Hamlet, watch a movie version of Hamlet, or read Hamlet the play, read it in SparkNotes, read the handout I gave you, whatever. Read a summary on Wikipedia. I don't know. Go find out some things about Hamlet. It's obviously the best thing to do would be to both read a copy of the play and also watch a movie. That'd be perfect if you could do that. But if you do anything, you want to read a summary, you want to read a translation into modern day English, you want to read a translation into modern day Korean, whatever you want to do, I'm happy with it. You're making some kind of progress. But obviously, ideally, would be to both read Shakespeare's play, use the modern day translation to help you understand Shakespeare's language, and also watch the movie. Um, cool. All right, so that's going pretty good. So, all right, this is really the first day of class. Last time was just explaining what the hell the class was. Now we're actually getting started on stuff. So let's talk about Plato. Plato's absurdly famous, ludicrously famous, and Plato's teacher was Socrates, who is also ludicrously super famous. One of the things I like to do with this kind of class is I like giving you famous things, um, things that helped build the world we live in now. Shakespeare and Plato are two of the most important thinkers. And if you want to know why the world looks the way it does today, Shakespeare and Plato have a lot to do with it. Um, a lot of Plato's thinking, for example, we'll talk about this in a second, but a lot of Plato's thinking, for example, influenced early Christianity. And so when you look at the Christian church today, a lot of that looks the way it does because of Plato. Um, so I don't know, pretty interesting guy. So let's talk about Plato. You may have heard the cave before. It's called the cave, the allegory of the cave. You know the word allegory, right? Allegory is just like a long metaphor, right? A metaphor is when you compare two different things, right? This guy is as dangerous as a lion, and an allegory is like you tell a whole story, and the entire story is a metaphor for this situation. Um, Allegory is not something we do so much anymore. Um, in fact, one of the only modern day movies I would think of as an allegory would be Darren Aronofsky's Mother, which is a very crazy project. And you want to see a fucking weird movie, you can watch Darren Aronofsky's Mother. And when it doesn't make any sense, eventually you'll realize, oh shit, this is an allegory. The whole movie is a metaphor. Um, all right, cool. So, Plato. Let's kind of get started on Plato. This is something teachers, first of all, colleges all over the world love to teach undergraduates, not just Plato, but this particular bit of Plato. The allegory of the cave is one of the most valued pieces of philosophy in the history of Western civilization. They teach it everywhere. They teach it at Columbia, and they teach it, in Shanghai, and it's it's a very famous thing. Why? Well, teachers love to give it to students because at least one thing it's about is about the process of education itself. That's why teachers love it. By the way, another reason teachers love Hamlet is because Hamlet is like he's an intellectual, and your professors are also intellectuals. So of course professors love Hamlet. Same thing with Plato. Plato was writing something about the process. Plato has written a thing about the process of being educated. And so teachers love it because, of course, they're educators. Teachers are intellectuals and educators, so they're going to like Hamlet because they're an intellectual, and they're going to like Plato because he's talking about the very nature of education and how difficult it is to educate people. That's one of the things the story is about. This is so famous. If you took 101 to get here, so congratulations on passing that class in the ridiculous final exam. But if you got here, you passed 101. So, but in the final exam where they gave you the readings and you had to write an essay about it, you got 3 questions, answer one of them. So Plato's allegory of the cave is absolutely something that we have given to 101 students in the past to study for their 101 exam. It's perfect. So again, just to go over it really quick, Socrates, who is Plato's teacher, but when Plato writes his books, he has Socrates be a character in the book. Socrates, like Jesus, didn't write anything down. Plato was a student, so Plato wrote everything down. But he wrote it down in a weird way. He wrote it down not like a novel or an essay. He wrote it like a conversation where Socrates would talk to people. And so in the allegory of the cave, Socrates is telling people about this cave. So it's pretty simple. It's a pretty simple little story. It's one of the reasons why it's so popular is because it's relatively simple to understand. Imagine people living in a cave, and they're chained and forced to look forward, and what they see on the cave wall in front of them are shadows, shadows on the wall. And these shadows, the shadows, they don't know. They've never been anywhere. They've never done anything. They think the shadow is a real thing. So when they see the shadow of a dog, they think that's a dog. And when they see the shadow of an eagle, they think that's an eagle. They see the shadow of a whatever candlestick, they think it's a candlestick. So, because they don't know any better. And interestingly, they're not even seeing the shadows of real things, according to Plato, because the idea is people in the cave are looking forward, and above and behind them is a fire, and then things pass in front of the fire, and then they see in front of them the shadows of those things, and they think they're real. And Socrates says, now imagine somebody got out of this cave and went up into, exited the cave and got into the real world. Well, first thing that would happen is it would be very painful because the sun, if you live in a cave, if you ever go to see a movie in the middle of the day and when you come out of the movie, your eyes hurt when the sun hits them because you've been in the dark so long, you live in a cave, your eyes are going to be fucked up. You're going to be used to that darkness, and the sunlight's going to hurt your eyes. It's going to be painful. It's also going to be real confusing up there because you thought you knew what a dog was, but when you see a real dog, you're going to have your mind blown because you thought dog was just like a two-dimensional shadow on the wall, and now you see dog is this fuzzy, furry, licky, cute guy with like one flop over ear. So you're going to get confused, and it's going to be hard. But eventually, your eyes would adjust to the light, and you would understand, oh, this is a dog, and you would realize it'd take a while. And it'd be very confusing. It would be painful for your eyes. But eventually you'd figure it out. This is a dog. I see. Then the guy goes back into the cave, and the people down there don't believe him. Because, of course, when you live in the upper world, you go in the cave, and now your eyes are used to brightness. And so if you've ever gone from a very bright place to a very dark room, it's pitch. You ever, turn off the light in your bedroom at night, and then it's, completely black and you can't see anything, and then after a while your eyes adjust to it, and you're, used to the darkness again? Well, the guy who left the cave, he's not used to the darkness, and so he would be... They down there, they're going to think he's an idiot. He can't even see the shadows, right? He's not even good at it anymore. He can't recognize the shadows. He can't talk about the shadows. And also, he doesn't want to talk about the shadows because now he knows that's all bullshit. And so they would make fun of him, and they wouldn't take him seriously, and they would say he was foolish, and he doesn't even know what they would say. What are you talking about, getting licked by a dog? A dog is a little shadow guy. They don't lick you. They don't have fur. They don't feel like anything, and so they'd be confused. And they would be angry at him. And Plato says this is, and he says and this guy, and if he tried to get someone in the cave to leave, they wouldn't want to go with him. They'd be mad. They'd be like, no, look at you. You went up to the upstairs world. You went to the you exited the cave, and now you came back talking like a moron. I'm not going with you. And so he says that the real aim of it, of the philosopher, the philosopher is this person who has exited the cave. Everybody sort of lives in darkness and confusion because they don't have knowledge. It's like a famous metaphor that light is a metaphor for knowledge. And so he says that it's the guy that goes down there, the guy that exits the cave and sees the truth and then comes back and tries to educate people about what's really going on. That's the philosopher. That's the person who knows what's going on. And people resist the philosopher. They don't want to listen to the philosopher because they think he's crazy and he doesn't talk normal. He doesn't say common sense seems to have gone out the window because they're like, common sense would tell you these shadows are all real. What are you talking about? There's not a magical separate world. But that's Plato's argument. It's about that the philosopher is this person. Okay. And the philosopher also realizes a bigger thing, which is that there were shadow dogs, right? Then he saw real dogs. And that was a huge difference. But the bigger issue is, where does all of this come from in the first place? It's the sun, right? It's because of the sun that you can see anything at all. And so he has this idea that education is moving from first you see shadows, then you see a dog, and then you realize the dog is lit up by the sun, and that's sort of the larger thing. And the sun is like a metaphor for truth, the pure truth. All right, I'll pick it up in the next video.